Good morning and welcome to the second day of the Legal Revolution 2017. I hope that all those who joined the networking dinner and party had a great evening yesterday, and welcome back to those who didn't. And of course, welcome to the people who joined us today. My name is Arnella Galom. I work as an associate at Brandhoff Obermüller partner, and I will be your host today. The first item on our agenda today is a panel discussion about smart law and legal operations, particularly about how to use smart technology to unleash the power of your firm or law department. Please welcome our panelists, Sebastian, Adreas Seip, Stephen T. Horst, Claudius Dechamps, and our moderator, Thomas Wegerich.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So what I will do, I'll give you the first 5 minutes, a short introduction why we've chosen the topic smart law and legal operations, and then we move on directly to our panel and we end with the QA. So shortly, maybe you know, maybe you don't. I work for a company called HighQ. We are there since around 2001. We're proud to say that we actually worked and still working with all of the leading law firms here in mainland Europe and actually around the world. And actually also we do a lot of work for our corporate legal departments. We do this with our operations globally. We have around 380 people worldwide. Most importantly, we have our operations here in Germany with our German data centers as we deliver our solutions and product via a hosted or cloud model. So the question was, why are we choosing the topic smart law and legal operation? Well, the reason is, and hopefully you've seen that also yesterday and today, and maybe that's one of the reasons why you're here, is that there's a lot of technology floating around us as a firm, as a legal operation, as a legal department. But how can we actually use that technology in our daily practice? How can we use that technology to actually change the way how we work as a law firm or a corporate legal department? How can we deliver our new products and new services? How can we add value to our clients and to our internal organization if you are a general counsel? How can we actually do things a bit more smarter using the technology? That's also what we're going to discuss with our panelists about. But there are a few things to keep in mind, and that's actually a bit of the experience I have and we have as an organization. How can we do this? How can we transform ourselves into that smarter law firm? Well, there are a few things to keep in mind, right? And the first thing is, it's all about people driving the transformation. Is you in the room can drive transformation at your firm or at your organization. And it's people and technology, right? Technology as such on its own doesn't do you any good. It's people and technology. It's the general counsel, the lawyer, and the technology, right? So if you are a lawyer, no worries yet. You're not out of a job. You just need to learn to work with the technology. We need to drive ourselves into an innovation culture, which sounds really nice, but what do we mean with innovation? And innovation is quite simple. It's around doing things a bit differently than you done yesterday, right? It's the dare to change something. And that needs to come into the organization. You as organization need to change something, right? To innovate, right? To change something. And that's not putting something on your website, it's actually doing it, right? That's the message. You need to innovate, or can innovate, that's even more important. The other thing which is really important in this whole transformation process is, and this is really key, and the biggest advice we can ever give, is define your processes, define your legal processes. What are you doing today? How are you doing it today? So if you know exactly how that process goes, you can also see where you can automate, right? Automating for automation purposes doesn't really exist. You need to understand where it makes most impact. And if you understand where you can automate, you can also start standardizing your work. And if you standardize your work, you can also productize the work. And if you productize the work, you can monetize the work. So you can sell it. It's a new business model. So you can step away slightly from the billable hour. And if you are at corporate counsel or work in the corporate legal department, if work is standardized, you can start doing it on your own. You can insource that work again and maybe only call your panel for the more specialized work, what law firm actually wants to do maybe anyway. So maybe that knife cuts on two ends, which is a nice Dutch expression. So also for us as a technology company, and also what we see is the future developments will be really lying here in standardizing the legal work. So if you like to transform in that smart law firm or that smart organization, it's called a transformation process, right? It's not happening overnight, luckily. So we have time to adapt ourselves as an organization, as a law firm, for future change. So be careful, right? It doesn't, there's no doom scenario. Small changes can also lead into great changes in the end. But please get started if you're not already doing it. And if you're already doing it, great, keep on the good spirit. So HighQ, we are a technology company, right? So we get these questions like, okay, that's great, and we want to innovate, but how can you guys help? And we like to call ourselves digital Lego. So what we typically call functions and features in the software application, we like to translate back into digital Lego. We give you the little Lego blocks to, adopt your client services as a law firm, or to build it as from an innovation platform point of view. Here is also where we integrate with all the leading AI vendors, the Ravens, the Kiras, the Luminances, to help the firms and organizations to process and optimize their processes, to standardize the work. It's already being done right now. And we're trying to help you be more efficient working with your client and working with your team. That's what we're trying to do. And if you'd like to know more about HighQ, please visit our booth. It's, I think, on number 33. And if you're at the neighbors, please come to us, because we're at 33. That's the little introduction I wanted to give. And I think it's now time to move over to the panel. Thomas?
Thanks, Sebastian. Thanks, Sebastian. Good morning from me as well. We only have 45 minutes time, so we shouldn't lose any time. What we try to do here at the panel, of course, we would like to entertain you and talk with each other, but we would like to achieve a rather interactive panel. So please feel free to step in anytime, ask your questions, give us your comments, and let's share the experiences. I would shortly like to introduce the panelists. You have met Sebastian, who is the Director of Solutions at HighQ. Next to him, we have Adreas Seip, Legal Counsel of ING Germany. And then there's our guest from the Netherlands, Steven ter Horst, CIO of Houthoff Buruma, very prestigious law firm. And then we have, at the very end, Dr. Claudius Dechamps, who is the founding partner of Waldeck Lawyers. Good to have you here. What we should do first is, I would like to ask all of our panelists to give a short introduction, how you would describe the use of technology in your organization or law firm. Would you like to start?
So, we see technology and innovation, it's very much close to our hearts, given that we started out over 50 years ago as a bank without any branches, relying on postal communication and phone communication as the main means to interact with our customers. So it doesn't really come as a surprise to us, and if you fast forward today, 95% of our customer interaction is digital, and the account opening process is also digital. And currently, I'm working in the wholesale banking part of the bank. I'm personally looking at a solution and a project where we're trying to automate certain DD assessments, and where we're trying to develop a contract analytics tool together with other providers. So that's our current state of play.
Thank you. Steve, would you like to go on?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think if we just take a step back and look 10 years back, what has happened over the past few years in terms of technology and innovation. And of course, innovation is a broader concept than just technology. But we have seen the transition from physical data rooms to virtual data rooms, e-discovery software, artificial intelligence, business intelligence, speech recognition. There's all sorts of technology-driven innovation that can be applied by either corporate counsel and corporations or law firms. And given all these changes, I think for us as a law firm, although we are relatively a larger law firm, it's still quite difficult to keep a good eye on what is actually happening out there. So I think we have sort of two approaches to applying technology in a law firm, two dynamics, so to say. I think the first one is practical tools, ready-to-use tools, tools that are easy to apply and to implement, and those are the type of technologies that actually creates the most benefit, at least on the short term. And I think the second dynamic or stream of innovation is the more R&D approach we apply to technology. That's technology that on the long run might have the biggest impact. And of course, two major trends at the moment are artificial intelligence and blockchain technology. These are more complex technologies that you need to work with, need to learn. So for that type of technology, we take our time, we dare to invest, we dare to play around with those type of technologies. We don't expect immediate returns on the short term. So that kind of is our approach towards technology within our firm.
Thank you. Mr. Dechamps?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I would say the main time I spend in the day is nothing which is digital, because unfortunately I have to use my brain as a lawyer.
Still.
But what I appreciate is that we are considerably supported by technology, really to use this, say, expertise, experience. That is what I mean when I talk of brain. It's expertise and it's to a large extent experience. To use that more efficiently, yeah? That we do have to do less of this slavery work, which unfortunately in a law firm you have to do, but you can really more concentrate on what is really the value we can add. How we use IT, of course we have all these standard IT systems, word processing, email, you name it. I think that's nothing we should talk of. But of course we use IT increasingly more to cooperate and to collaborate with our clients. I think that's important. That's something different from communicating with clients. And of course we use it to support our work. For instance, to have today digital data rooms, etc., which makes life easier.
Thank you. Do you agree with anything you heard so far, or any comments? No, if not, thank you for the good start. Let's just carry on. I've got another question for you, and maybe we start again in this row. How would you describe legal operations excellence, and what do you expect from law firms you are working with? Seip?
Yeah, I would see that boiling down to essentially one feature, which is best value for money, how I would like to put it. And that means for me that, that the deal is actually carried out at the right level of seniority, and that you're breaking down the hierarchy. One useful means to achieve that is if you set your teams up in an agile manner. We already work in agile deal teams at ING, because our experience was that it helps with two major things. One is, if you break down hierarchies, people don't have to go back and forth to their supervisor to work on a product. It helps to deliver the work product and to process the deal quicker. And the whole process is less protracted. Secondly, sometimes we all know it, if you're on a deal, you know, people easily get stuck into positions rather than working together to resolve the issues, explore their interests, explore common ground. And I think that is easier if you keep a small team with all the stakeholders involved and work more in that agile manner. How else do you deliver best value money advice? I think it is making the best use of technology available, because it also helps you to work in an agile manner by getting to the point quicker. Think of, you know, exploring the relevant intelligence out of contract that you need to make a decision. You get the relevant insights earlier, the deal team can directly act upon it. Finally, I think taking a mix and match approach. So when it comes to executing, carrying out a project or a deal, it's now a reality that you have to work with outsourcing firms, that you don't only rely on one law firm and one partner. You have to work with other partners, you have to work with other professional advisors such as tax consultants. So my expectation would be, you know, be collaboratively, work seamlessly, and work constructively in order, you know, to make it happen, because otherwise closing will become a bit of an issue.
Thank you. Steve, do you agree?
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think our approach, at least, is working agile. I think agile might be a kind of a newer term we have heard of over the past couple of years, but I think overall law firms do work quite in an agile way. What we are quite bad at is actually understanding in depth and measuring how we execute processes. And for that you can use, law firms are sitting on an amount of data, financial data. Every lawyer is recording time on a daily basis. So making use of that data and measuring your processes and then pinpointing how can you improve, and also entering into discussions with your clients to see what is most important for them in terms of service improvement. That is the type of data analysis and discussion we don't have too often with our clients. So I would strongly advocate, let's say, a 360 approach. We need technology providers to provide the best solutions and to drive efficiencies in our processes. The technology providers also need law firms to develop the best solutions out there, and they need our knowledge how we need to work with it. Obviously, law firms need clients, but it's also the other way around. So if we take a more holistic approach and sit together and think about legal processes and how we can improve those processes and further drive efficiency, I think there's a lot to gain in that area.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Dechamps.
Yeah. We don't do our work for our own fun. Yeah, it's for the clients, and that is, I think, an important issue. And as a middle-sized law firm, we are dependent on working in teams within the firm, of course, but also external. For instance, Waldeck Rechtsanwälte, it's no secret we don't have no tax expertise. Yeah, so we have to cooperate with tax advisors or tax lawyers in projects. And so if we have an M&A project, there is really a team, and I think it's important to coordinate this cooperation. For instance, to have the ability to look at the same documents, to work on the same documents. This is really important.
Sebastian, I don't want to cut you out, so you step in whenever you like. Yeah. A question for Stephen and Mr. Dechamps, if you like. How would you describe the role of technology in your law firm, and how does your client benefit from it? We've heard quite a bit about that, but I would like to ask you to go into more detail, if you like.
Yeah, well, we'd like to see ourselves at least as a more innovative law firm. We invest in quite some technology, sometimes even without the expectation of immediate benefits. So that kind of approach and culture, I think, is something to foster within our firm. But still, it might be difficult to pinpoint what the exact benefits for the clients are. And I'm going to try that as precisely as I can. I think on the one hand we have some applications that result in a direct financial benefit to the client. One example is the HighQ Collaborate instance. It's a ready-to-use application, and its results we offer it as a free of service for our clients. So that's an immediate saving of cost for hosting, for example, a virtual data room. Another example is e-discovery software. We have e-discovery software in-house now. So by having that type of software in-house, contrary to a hosted solution, we were able to limit the processing costs for our clients and basically eliminate the monthly hosting costs. So those are investments in technology made by our firm that result in a direct cost saving for the client. Now the second category is software that results in more predictability and in more transparency in the way we deliver our services. One example I mentioned earlier is business intelligence information. We use quite a state-of-the-art business intelligence tool, so we can visualize our internal data, create reports for the clients, giving access to clients to interactive dashboards. They can click through it, follow the work as it is executed in near real time. So that creates an open flow of information, and right at the moment the work is actually executed, the client can follow how we are executing the work and how the work is distributed, how the actual performance is versus the budget. it's reasonable to think at least that that type of information flow could result in a more indirect cost saving, because we prevent that we do work for a certain amount that the client is not happy with and we need to do write-offs, and we have an open discussion about the scope of work and how the work is distributed between the in-house counsel, outside service providers, and us as a law firm, and it's an open discussion you have along the way. And we try to limit surprises by just sending the invoice at the end of the matter. So that's the second category. I think the third group of technology we should expect the most out of on the long term, and that's investing in actually efficiency gains in how we provide services. But that's an incremental change, so it's hard to pinpoint now what the exact benefits for the clients are and to monetize it, to put a number on it. But on the long run, I think we could take a step back, look at how we were executing a certain portion of work a few years ago and how we are doing it now, and then determine what the exact benefits are. But I think good investments in process efficiency, so artificial intelligence, software to automate a certain portion of work, that is where we can expect the most benefits on the long run.
Thank you.
Well, what do clients expect from a lawyer? I think in the end, perfect or high quality legal advice, various types. Finding an innovative solution for a new issue, a legal solution. Drafting contracts which really settled the needs in the end. I think that is what you always have to see at the end, what is really expected. Because we are not talking of technology as a matter of such. In the end, it's the final solution. And how does technology add to that? I think it makes work simply more efficient in the end. Let me explain it, for instance, in case of a due diligence. Maybe I should add something. The client in the end expects perfect legal advice, and if he is wise, and now I make a bit advertisement for lawyers, and if he is intelligent, he understands that costs money. But on the other hand, he doesn't want to pay too much. That's something where we are in between. So if we have an M&A pro or due diligence, for instance, if we can save traveling costs because we have a electronic data room, the client benefits because we save costs which we don't have to invoice them. If we have more structures access to the data, of course we can save working time. Again, we have excellent results because we concentrate on the real legal issues, but we do it more efficiently, more time efficiently. If we have tools like question and answer tools, it helps, yeah, because it takes. In the past, there were. It was a Chinese issue in the end. We have lots of first years sitting in these data rooms dictating what they have seen in the contract. Hopefully they have seen what they should have seen. And after all this was written, really somebody who understands from the issue looks at the outcome. And today we have the possibility to have the results achieved by technology support and evaluate that by an experienced lawyer. And I think that is something which never can be taken away from by technology, this evaluating the results. That's something we have to do as lawyers.
No one disagrees as far as I can see, so thank you. Let's take a look at the other side of the coin. A question for Sebastian and for Adreas. How would you describe the role of technology in your organization, and how do your internal clients and your organization benefit from it? Sebastian?
Well, I have to take it from another approach, of course, because I look at all the law firms and organizations we work with right now, and lucky you'd already see
the question, which one do you think is the best in the use of technology, comes later, so.
Fair enough.
No. It's another question.
Oh, sorry. So I think what we see also, and also we see it here on our panelists, of course, that luckily technology nowadays plays a bit of a a bigger role in the law firm and the corporate legal department. Where probably when I started, it was more a cost of doing business. The laptop and the machine was there, and then we had to use it, and we had to pay for it, and that was it. So that's the whole change we have seen for the last few years, that we see technology, law firms being used more as an option to start selling and productizing and finding new business models around that billable hour problem, which we have, which is still there. I speak a lot of law firms still, which are tied solely to the billable hour. So what we're trying to help and what we're trying to see is to find technology and productize some of that legal work so we can find new business models around it. And the question how, I think the question why is quite obvious, right? We all know that, we all know what's coming up, but the question how is normally where it normally gets to a problem, right? Where partners go to a client and ask them, we have some really cool technology at our law firm, we really innovate, and the client asks, okay, how? And then it stops, right? We need to come to a point where the partners and a client pitch can actually explain why this technology is beneficial, why it adds value to their clients. And probably the same thing goes for internal organizations. If you're the general counsel and you come up with technology, your internal organization will ask you, okay, why are we actually using it? And if you can explain it correctly, what the benefit is, what the value is, it makes more sense, right? And hopefully, and Stephen already said that, that law firms can actually start finding new business models and ask money for those products. Because I work at a software company all my life, right? I did nothing else than working at software companies. And product management is always a big part of our company, right? So we have people developing, you have people making the product, and then we have people selling the product. And we can only sell a product if it adds value to your clients. So if I'm at a law firm and they say, well, I like your technology, but it's too expensive, I did something wrong, right? I didn't explain them the right value. And this is the same thing for a law firm or a corporate legal department. If you come to your internal organization or your clients and they say, well, I like your product, I like your idea, but I don't want to pay for it, it's too expensive. There again, you're missing the value points. The product always comes with a value for the problem, right? The higher the value, the bigger the problem. That's how it goes.
Thank you. Mr. Seip?
Yeah, I think the value not only comes with the product, but obviously, the product needs to fit for the firm and needs to fit for your demands. And the way I would see our role or the role of technology and innovation at ING is that it's very much, a shared responsibility. It's not something that you create a post of a chief innovation officer or business change. Here you go. That's my homework done on innovation. I do not do anymore. That's not the case. We see that as rather as evolving and transforming and shared responsibility for everyone to contribute, and everyone is encouraged to contribute no matter what your position is. If you come up with something in your daily lives that is really mind-numbing and that is bugging you, people are encouraged to step forward, make themselves heard, make proposals as to how they can improve the process. And there are various initiatives that we've started and that are out in the bank. There's an idea platform where people are actually encouraged to make their ideas known, find supporters. It works a bit like a crowdfunding tool. There is bank-wide innovation boot camps, and we also have legal innovation boot camps. So all of them trying to achieve the same thing. They're trying to foster innovation and make people come out with new ideas, with new processes, or optimizing current processes. But the important point is that it's not only bottom down, but also bottom up. So you're working both ways on the issues. And if you come up with a really good, with a really good solution or come up with a really good development, I think the benefits are evident, because ultimately, not only by having that open process, or by having the infrastructure to bring up new ideas, you get an immediate result. You get happier people because they have a purpose apart from doing their job. And if they manage to be successful in developing and innovating, it also means happier people, because you weed out on the boring stuff and people can focus on more purposeful assignments. It also means, as a benefit of using the technology or being innovative, is that you get more client face time. Something that is very important in nowadays, where you have a lot of administrative and regulatory focus and people spend far too much time on bureaucracy, be it internal or be it regulatory driven. So people need to go out and actually do business. That's what we are there for. But if they are deprived by having to execute sort of boring, mundane tasks, it's kind of difficult. And ultimately, what everyone likes to say, and I tend to agree, is you can do more for less. I think those are the benefits, and those is the metrics that you're looking out for when deciding what do you want to buy, how do you want to deploy it, and how do you want to develop it further.
Maybe, Sebastian, please.
You can just add something too, because that's because the really interesting approach here is, and that we've seen that with other law firms too, is that listening to your client, what they actually need, and listen to your internal organization, what they actually need. I think that's still key, right? We call this, you call it agile, we call it lean. For me, it always comes down to we need to listen to our clients, right? If the corporate calls you and says, I want to have a lower price for the work you're doing, is that because he doesn't want to pay you anymore, or is there a different reason behind it, right? And that listening to your client, listening to your internal organization to figure out what's actually needed and innovate on those kind of points, that's just really key in that end.
Perhaps from your point of view as a kind of sidekick, which law firms and which law departments do you see as leading in the clever use of technology, except from the ones being present, of course?
I mean, you get to. I think there are few in. Obviously, I'm slightly or tainted with experience from coming from a major law firm, and I don't mean that as those are the only ones out there that are doing it, but I know it from Clifford Chance that they worked, for example, early on and since probably now almost 15 years, looking at each and every process to see how they can optimize it. And I found that process very, very structured, how it was executed and implemented. And that was how they also managed to recoup a lot more leaner transaction management and deliver that as value for the client. So that's, again, that was Clifford Chance, but by no means, there are other firms out there who would deliver the same thing. Yeah? But that goes into the area of process management, where I think in terms of use of technology, you see since a few years, people are working increasingly with companies like Leviton, Raven, and the likes to perform their due diligence and get more value out of their contracts and out of the data that I have available. So I think those are the two sort of major developments that I've seen, and I think that's not down to one firm, and it's not necessarily down to the big firms. I think that there are a range of smaller firms that, and even solo practitioners that can make all the difference, because now you actually have the tools at your hand to go out and make a difference. Because what I found amazing is the other day I met a girl who set up, sorry, it was not a girl, it was a young woman, who set up her own, she looked very young still, who set up her own collaborative platform for solo practitioners and smaller firms. I thought that's wonderful, because yesterday there was a talk about how do you actually get knowledge to smaller firms who cannot afford to buy huge databases of information and expensive publishing resources. It's by collaborating, building a platform involving other solo practitioners to join and exchange their ideas and tap their expertise. And I think that's a way forward.
Thank you. Steve, how's the situation in the Netherlands?
Yeah, I think we take good notice of the global firms, so also Clifford Chance, but I especially also like the developments made by Allen and Overy. They, of course, have quite some investment power and setting up internal labs to innovate, but the steps they are making, I think, are worthwhile for any law firm to take a close look at. And they, as other firms, seem to find and strike a good balance between delivering high-end services and also productizing high-end knowledge and delivering service in an entirely different way. Recently there was also a research paper with what other law firms do in this area, and it's already quite a sizable amount of their annual revenue. Other parties we take a close look at are, of course, the big four accountancy firms. Also firms with a lot of investment power, sizable departments in the legal industry. They're stepping in the legal industry with quite some force at the moment. They position themselves mainly at the moment as service providers that can take on some work of the law firms. But they might pose some threat to the legal industry and the traditional law firms. So those are certainly parties we take as good examples and learn what their vision is and try to adapt and accommodate what we can use for us as a Netherlands-based law firm.
Thank you. Mr. Dechamps, you don't have to say friendly words about your competitors because we are running out of time.
I just wanted to say you will appreciate that I think the most advanced company is Waldeck Rechtsanwälte.
Ah. Thanks for that. So 5 minutes left. One last question to all of you. When you're reviewing your department's or law firm's IT and software landscape, and you see and you take a look about at all the opportunities out there in the market, we've heard about that today, how do you decide what to invest in and when to invest in?
Yeah, I think it's very comes down to cost-benefit considerations primarily. You know, where's the real benefit for our clients, and be it internal or be it external, there needs to be a real benefit, and cost-benefits considerations are primarily driving investment decisions. But we also look, there are various initiatives and each with a different focus. Some look, you know, at the lending process, others look beyond core banking. I think the real value of those initiatives will show if you approach them in a collaborative manner and come up and see new tools like AI more as an infrastructure and not as the new oil you're trying to develop, ultimately a customer-facing or market-facing platform. And I think that's where the key focus should lie.
Steve?
Yeah, I think how we approach the choice to go for certain technology is somewhat selective. We try to follow as many developments across in events like these, and some trends surface quite early on, so you know what the bigger trends are: artificial intelligence, blockchain, and everybody has heard of it also on this event. And whether it's on Twitter, LinkedIn, in the media, or events like these, there are always a couple of vendors that you hear on different spots. And those are the vendors we take a close look at. We are at first a law firm and not a technology company, so we obviously are not jumping on each type of trend we can see and spot in the market. We are quite happy with first seeing what developments are, which parties surface at the top. At those parties we take a close look, and if you follow that strategy you are more or less on the safe side, but you can also easily still be a front runner in the legal industry, or a smart adapter, smart follower in the market. So we take a selective approach. We don't need to innovate on each single point in development and try to test and invest in each type of technology we find out there. But we keep a close look at the market and jump in at the time we think is right.
Thank you. Mr. Dechamps.
Yeah, I think also I can make it short. Of course, we have quite sophisticated present systems supporting our work, the simple systems for a law firm, including document management. Of course, we'll continue to improve that, and that means we are investing in that. But I think in the past, or in the recent months, we have really started to invest into, for instance, all these client collaboration software. I think that's becoming increasingly important to support that.
Thank you. So up until now, it wasn't too interactive between you and us. If you would like to ask a last question, please do. Yes, please.
I would like to pick your brains on the cultural change that is a prerequisite for efficient use of technology. Being myself in a major law firm, I see a lot of work in that area. What is your view or experience?
Quick round.
Yeah, I think that is indeed an issue, because you know, if you see that as being too departmentalized, you know, if it's someone else's turf and not your responsibility, it's kind of difficult to get people really engaged. But I think if you're trying to make that shift where you actually say, guys, think about it, what is really bugging you, what is a problem, trying to allocate the responsibility actually down to the lawyers, be it a trainee, be it a senior associate, it doesn't matter, but it's on everyone's turf, really make it a problem of everyone. Because ultimately, it's going to improve everyone's lives if it works. And, you know, encourage something, you know, you don't have to be the big new Bill Gates as a lawyer or, you know, Steve Jobs. It doesn't matter if you fail, you know, or if it turns out that, you know, was a bit rubbish, it didn't work. Ultimately, just encourage to come forward and step out and do something.
I think for us as a law firm, we luckily have quite a solid basis of culture that we are forward-looking. But we are also a law firm like any other law firm, so we have the same problems and issues in change management and innovation. I often hear focus on the younger lawyers. I certainly think that's true. I also think it should be part of their education already. But we are most successful when we develop new technologies, implement new technologies to focus on the mid-level partners, sort to say. They're well-seasoned partners, they have the authority and the position within the partnership. They still might have 20, 25 years to go as a firm, so there are a lot of developments that they actually have to sell to the clients, have to work with. So we have been most effective by selecting those partners, setting up small groups, making new technology and implementation successful, and then rolling out. And if other partners see it works for them, their clients are happy, then you also have a good starting point to roll it out wider within the firm. Mm-hmm. So instead of just focusing on the young people or losing time at people who don't want to change and innovate, period, we focus on the more experienced senior partners who still have quite some years to go at the firm.
Famous last words in just 30 seconds?
Yeah, well, I support what Stephen just said. I think it fits very well to what we are doing since we are started to work. We always considered us as working in teams that included also the youngsters. And they are much more than in the past. They were simply hardworking. And now they are really part of being having expertise, which requires that we have to train them, unfortunately. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think that was it. Thank you all for being here, and let's thank our panelists for sharing their knowledge with us.